have to tell you something about him. He is probably, no, wouldn't do that to you. He's probably one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. He's passionate. He's extremely passionate about life, about living. He is a married man with 5-year-old, 6-year-old twin boys, which I know can't be easy all the time, and yet he's someone who has in his heart enough room to handle the entire universe. So this morning, would you please give a very, very warm welcome, Rabbi Michael Barclay.
There are only 2 Hannukah songs then. Okay, wait. I'm not Mish. This is not a performance. We have what's called a nigun. A nigun is a song without words, to open our hearts and open our spirits. So I expect you to sing with me. Otherwise, I think I'm back in temple. Okay. Lie, 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 lie. I get lie, 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 lie. It's changed. Lie, 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 la la lie, 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 la la lie, 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 la la lie, 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 la la lie, 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 lie. Okay, are you guys ready to sing now? I was thinking, what a nice quiet place to practice my Dvar Torahs. So you guys are going to sing now? Is that too low for you all? No. Okay. Oh, I love them. If you can't sing, you can say na na na. If you can't sing na na na, you can put one hand and put the other hand. But the idea is that the presence of God, the Shekhinah, only rests on joy. It doesn't rest on pain. It doesn't rest on depression. We have a Hannukah. We light the candles. Otherwise, it's dark. It's that simple. We are in partnership with God. And so I ask you to please, at least for this moment, let go and sing. Lie, 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 la 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 la. Thank you, and thank you for being good to me and kind and allowing me to come here. As Dr. Marine said, you know, it's always interesting when we have Hanukkah songs. One of the great miracles of Hanukkah that I don't understand, so I guess I'm not sure it's a miracle or not, is there's this spectacular Christmas music. There's Silent Night and Go Tell It on the Mountain and Do You Hear What I Hear and Little Drummer Boy by David Bowie and Bing Crosby. If you haven't seen it, you should. And then what do we have? Oh, dreidel, 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 and Hannukah, oh, Hannukah. So Mitch, thank you for that song, okay? Let's talk for a moment about what Hanukkah is. As children, people think Hanukkah is the most important holiday in the world because you get gifts. And then you get older and you think, oh, it's about a military victory, and so it's not so important. What I would like to teach you and share with you is that, in fact, it is extremely important. It is not about a military victory, and it's actually in the Bible, which predates the Hasmoneans, the Maccabees, by over 1,000 years. How many of you knew that? Okay, see? I can go now. So what is Hanukkah? Hanukkah means dedication. And on Hanukkah, we light this big thing called a Hanukah. We're going to put one up this week, God willing. We'll get the guys so we can put it up. We have this big thing. How many of you saw it last year? It's this with candles. and you light a candle, and you add another candle every night. It's for 8 nights. And ostensibly, it is because the miracle of Hanukkah is that when the Maccabees took back over the temple from the Greeks in the 2nd century before the Common Era, there was only one pure flask of oil, and that one flask of oil lasted 8 days till they could get new, clean, virgin oil. And so that was the miracle. Okay? And it's pretty simplistic, and it seems like it's a military victory. And why do we play dreidel? How many of you know about dreidel? Okay, dreidel is like a spinning top, has letters on it. And the reason we play dreidel ostensibly, again, is because in that time there were soldiers, and what do soldiers do when they're not on duty? They gamble. So instead of craps, they use dreidel. And hence the miracle of Hanukkah. Except that's not what it's about. That's what it ostensibly is about historically. But it actually is much, much older. We know that our patriarch Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, as in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we know that Jacob is born and dies on a holiday called Sukkot. For those who have not been in a sukkah, you're all invited to mine next year. We have large parties at our house every night for all 7 nights. It's a temporary structure. It's where you build a temporary structure. This sort of booth is what it's called. We know that Jacob is born and dies on the first night of Sukkot. And if you look in the Torah, if you look in the book of Genesis, of Bereshit, and you look in chapter 50, it says that when he died, they mourned him in Egypt for 70 days. Now, this is a little bit esoteric. It's a Hebrew calendar. We don't work on January, February, March. We work on other names. Okay? Elul, Tishrei, Mar Cheshvan, Kislev. They're much harder to say, and they don't all end with Y, so don't worry about it. But the point is that what happens is that he dies. And in Egypt, they mourn him for 70 days. And then it says that Joseph, his son, travels back towards Canaan, to Canaan. Joseph has that evening a one-day eulogy, and he proclaims and ordains there will be an additional 7 days of memorial for Jacob. Now, Jacob's other name is Israel. We're actually named after him. Yisrael, the one who wrestles with God. And wrestling is very intimate. Wrestling is not just this. Wrestling is intimate. If you saw 2 men wrestling outside and you didn't know what they were doing, you might think they were doing something else. It's very intimate, and so we're intimate with God. Now, if you take the calendar, this means that Jacob dies on Erev Sukkot, and 70 days later, he had an 8-day festival for his mourning. And in Judaism, we light candles when someone dies to remember them. How many of you are Jewish or have been to when someone's done that? We light what's called a yahrzeit candle, because in the book of Proverbs it says that the soul of the human being is the candle flame of God. And so, way, way back, 3,700 years ago, there was this 8-day festival involving candles that started 70 days after the beginning of Sukkot. Now, does anyone want to take a guess as to what 70 days after the beginning of Sukkot turns out to be today? The 25th day of the month of Kislev, the first night of Hannukah. So our ancestors were actually celebrating a memorial for our father Jacob over 1,000 years before the Maccabee revolt. Why is this so important? What is the connection between Sukkot and Hanukkah? In Sukkot, we build this temporary structure. Hanukkah is all about, you can talk to me, I'm not television, I can see you. My neighbor Doug's back there going, darn it, he's on every channel. What it's about, say it loudly. Lights. It's about lights. And so on Sukkot, we build a structure. It's a temporary structure. It's a shell of a structure. 70 days later, 10 weeks, we light the lights. And that's our job during this time period between, to meditate what are the lights you want to build in your own temple. And tonight and for the next week, we light it up. And as she said, I'm a little passionate about some things. Okay, I'm a lot passionate about everything. How's that? We light it up. You're all invited to a Hanukkah party. We're having a Triumphal Canyon Park at 4:30. We'll then be going back to my house for latkes and lighting of candles. You are all invited. Please feel free. We're having a party next Sunday at Bogey's where we are having, we will light the candles at 4:30. They're opening it up so children can come as well. And naturally, in a really good way to celebrate a traditional Hanukkah, immediately after the lighting of the candles, we're going to have this amazing R&B band called Masta and the Edge of Soul. Okay? If you've seen it, Moscow is amazing. So you are all invited to that as well, to come. Because the idea is to celebrate and to light lights. That this 70-day period that we're just closing now, that it's the beginning of a new year, a beginning of a new time. We're lighting our lights. We're making a candle. We're lighting a flame. And here's the reality and miracle about light. The whole is truly greater than the sum of the parts, isn't it? 2 candles produce more electricity, more wattage, more light than they each do separately, totaled up. And so when we light a Hannukah, we have this amazing opportunity to light each one of our energy centers inside ourselves. To light every one of them up each night. Now we have a little bit different system than the chakra system many of you may be familiar with. We have what are called sphirot, and we have 10 of them. We believe there's 7 in our body and 3 outside. That's for a whole other class. But to light up our lights, light up our lives, this is what Hannukah is. But how do we do it? We do it through partnership, through community. It's not about just one candle, because even on the first night when there's one candle, we have a lighter candle. It's usually like that, you know. If one is good, 2 is better. So we want to, and we light. We light up by being together. We light up by singing songs. And that's how we bring light into the world, because otherwise they're just dark candles, aren't they? I have a friend and teacher named Rabbi Greenbaum from Jerusalem. Rabbi Abraham has a wonderful line. Someone said, all this spiritual meditation stuff, what does that have to do with the problems in the Middle East? And I agree with him with what he says. He said, you do not understand. This is not a war between Jew and Arab. This is a war between good and evil. And there is good and there is evil on both sides. It is being fought in this world, acted out in this world, but in fact it is really being fought in the angelic world. And so what can you do? You can sing and you can dance and you can pray together. Because when you do, angels are born. Angels for good. They will fight the war for peace in that supernal realm, and then we will have it here. The first time I could ever get my arms around any answer that I could in any way integrate into my life. So Hannukah is about consciously lighting that candle. But what do we do? How do we do it? How do we light a candle in the midst of darkness like what happened in San Bernardino? How do we light a candle of joy, of faith, of hope in the midst of all those kids being killed in Paris? And most of them were kids, because who goes to rock concerts and sporting events? How do we light candles for joy to really bring that light into the world? For me, one of the answers I find in the teachings of my teachers, of the sages, of the rabbis, that's where I look to my answers when I have the issues that you were talking about, Brad. And so I'd like to share with you, if I may, a story, which some of you may have heard me tell in the past at some point or another, because I tell it all over the world. Is it okay if I tell you a story? Okay. There's an Irish tradition that if you don't call for a story, everyone goes home with a broken back. So, is it okay? Not my tradition. So, is it okay if I tell you a story? Yes. There was this, and this is a true story. This is an entirely true story. There was a man named Kalinimus Kalman Shapira. He was a rabbi in Warsaw. He was the rabbi of Warsaw, the chief rabbi, at the age of 17 years old. Now, you got to be a pretty holy guy in pre-World War II Europe to be the head of your community at 17, don't you? Yeah. And so he had this great yeshiva. He was this great teacher as well. A yeshiva is a school. He had 500 plus students. It said that when an old man would come and with his grandchild, he'd spend 5 minutes with the 75-year-old, and he would spend 5 hours with the child. It was all about the children for him. What he would teach, how he would teach it. The war came. The Warsaw became a ghetto, and he could have gotten out, but he chose to stay with his people. And he died there. But he led the community. If any of you have ever read the book Mila 18 by Leon Uris, The rabbi in that is based on the Rebbe, the Holy Rebbe. He was from a suburb of Warsaw called Piaseczna, so he was called the Holy Piaseczna. Like I said, we got a lot of funny sounding words in our tradition. At the end of World War II, an American soldier found a cask, a crate, in the ghetto. And on it were letters that he did not understand, but some he knew were Hebrew, so he took it to the rabbi. And the rabbi, the chaplain, looked at it, and it said in Hebrew and in Yiddish and in Polish, "Whoever publishes these writings, I promise my ancestors and I will bless you." Rabbi Kalinimus Kalman Shapiro. These were his sermons from inside the Warsaw Ghetto. And if you think we have a dark time with what we see now, think about what was going on then and in that ghetto. And yet these words are so powerful. They were published and then translated into English. The book is called Eish Kodesh, or Sacred Fire. You can buy it on Amazon. I cannot read more than a page or two without starting to sob. Not just because of the pain, but because of the faith and hope and choice that this man made. This book affected many people, and one of the people that affected was a man named Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. How many of you have ever heard of Reb Shlomo? Okay, hello, holy sister. Hello, holy brother. Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, who died a number of years ago. And it affected him, and one day, he always wanted to meet someone who was a disciple of the Holy Piaseczna. And so one day, he's on the beaches of Tel Aviv, and he sees this hunchback. And in the way he was, he goes, Shalom Aleichem, which means peace be unto you. And a heavy Polish accent, the man says back, Aleichem Shalom, peace to you as well. Shlomo says, Polish accent, you're from Warsaw? He goes, from Piaseczna. Piaseczna, did you know the holy rabbi, Kalinimus Kalman Shapiro? Know him, he was my rabbi until I was 12 years old. And Shlomo says, please, 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 give me a teaching, give me a story. Please. Of the holy teachings of the holy Piaseczna Rebbe. And the hunchback says, no, he goes, please, if you teach me a story, I promise I will tell it all my life, and it will be passed around the world. Shlomo is gone. I tell this story in his honor and in honor of the holy Piaseczna, so that it is still passed on. So this hunchback went, and he changed his clothes because he wanted to put on, a collar. If you're going to teach, you should teach in a collar, is that old Eastern European tradition. And he comes out to Shlomo and he says, you sure you want a story? And Shlomo says, please, please. He says, from the age of 5 to the age of 12, when I was taken to the camps, I studied with the holy rabbi. At 12, they took me to Auschwitz. Because I was big for my age, they had me do labor while my mother, my father, my sisters were all killed. It's from that heavy labor that I developed this hunchback. I can't tell you after Auschwitz, after experiencing that, I can't teach you the teachings of my holy rabbi. But I can tell you one thing. Every Shabbat, every Friday night, at the big dinner, between the soup and the salad, between the salad and the fish, between the fish and the meat, the holy Rebbe would come and he would say to all of us, Kindle, children, the greatest thing in the world is to do somebody else a favor. The greatest thing in the world is to do somebody else a favor. Because you know how many favors you can do in Auschwitz? Listen to a story of someone dying. Give a piece of bread. The hunchback said, I came here to Tel Aviv. There are days I walk into the water until it is up to my mouth, and then I hear the voice of my Rebbe saying, the greatest thing in the world, children, the greatest thing in the world is to do somebody else a favor. Do you know how many favors you can do on the streets of Tel Aviv? Because that's the only teaching I can remember. And he walked off. Shlomo came back to New York for the holidays. And then after Sukkot, he went back to Tel Aviv and he asked everyone, have you seen my holy hunchback? Have you seen my holy hunchback? He said, the hunchback, or the street sweeper, he died during Sukkot. And then Shlomo said the following about him, and I say this both about him and about Shlomo. They are up in heaven, sweeping the streets, cleaning the area for us, making the world a cleaner and better place, and reminding us always the greatest thing in the world is to do somebody else a favor. When we do a favor for someone else, this is truly, truly sanctifying God's name. This is truly lighting a candle of Hanukkah. And like all candles, those favors will build upon each other until it doesn't matter what the darkness is. Rather, those kind favors begin what becomes a bonfire and changes the world. I thank you for being kind to me, for allowing me to be here with you today. I hope we can all do some favors for each other in the world. You are all invited, as I said, to Triumphal Canyon, and then to our house, Triumphal Canyon Park, and then our house. You're invited next week to come listen to R&B music, where you will be forced to do the favor of clapping and singing. Thank you for being kind to me. May your Hanukkah be filled with light, love, and all that is joy. Happy Hanukkah. See, I do it all in your conference.